There comes a time in the careers of some in this House when they stand too close to the edge, when they play with fire, when they fly too close to the sun. And to continue in that astronomical metaphor, we have a Chancellor who has truly thrown herself headlong into a colossal black hole entirely of her making. The Chancellor, Mr. Speaker, has trashed our economy, and she will blame anybody but herself. The OBR, the legacy, the Conservative Party, Donald Trump, Brexit, whatever it is, as long as it's not herself. And yet we on this side of the House know the clear truth. We know exactly what has happened to our economy. We know that we had a government that, when it was in opposition, said that there was no way they would be putting up taxes left, right and centre, and yet within a few short months they had done precisely that, layering up taxes on businesses, destroying growth, at the same time as talking down our economy, the fictitious £22 billion black hole, which ironically was debunked as not legitimised by the OBR at the behest of the party opposite themselves. We know that this party has borrowed colossal amounts of money, is due to be spending around £500 billion more than the plans that they inherited. And what has been the consequence of that, Mr. Speaker? It has been elevated inflation. We now have the highest inflation in the G7. The IMF tells us that next year we will once again have the highest inflation in the G7. And the consequences of that, through monetary policy, of course, are that interest rates will be higher for longer, bearing down on those who have mortgages, businesses who wish to borrow. And critically, I will in a moment, critically, when it comes to our burgeoning national debt, which is soaring under this government, the costs of servicing that debt are now running at £100 billion a year, rising to £130 billion across this Parliament. That is twice what we spend on defence. Indeed, if government servicing of our debt was a department of government, it would be the third largest in Whitehall. And none of that money, Mr. Speaker, is going on public services. It is simply going to pay off the creditors who are owed money as a consequence of the profligacy of the party opposite. And I give way to the honourable lady.
Good day and welcome to the British Report. Imagine, if you will, the political equivalent of a high-speed train wreck where the driver is arguing with the navigator while the passengers are being asked to pay for the damage. We are witnessing an absolute televised disintegration of the British political establishment in real time. Just 1 minute ago, the ironclad partnership between Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves didn't just crack, it shattered with the force of 1,000 tax hike manifestos. We are talking about a scene so explosive that the walls of number 11 Downing Street are still vibrating from the fallout. This is not just a bad day at the office for the first female Chancellor, this is a total scorched earth destruction of her tenure. After a catastrophic week that saw much-loved high street staples like Claire's and the original factory shop plunge into administration, taking 2,500 jobs with them, the Prime Minister has reportedly demanded her head on a silver platter. The word resignation isn't just being whispered, it's being shouted from the rooftops of Westminster, and the response from Reeves has been nothing short of a volcanic eruption of fury. Quick favour, if you are loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It is free, takes a second and means the world to us. Thanks, if you did. Now back to the show. It all started with a notification that hit the wires like a physical blow. The news that Claire's, the place where half of Britain got their first ear piercing, and the Discount King, the original factory shop, have filed for administration. This isn't just another retail slump, it is a clinical diagnosis of an economy in cardiac arrest. Medela Capital, the investment firm that only recently tried to play the hero by rescuing these chains, didn't hold back. They pointed the finger squarely at what they called highly adverse government fiscal policies. In plain English, they are blaming Rachel Reeves and her fiscal iron fist for strangling the life out of the British high street. We are talking about 154 Claire's shops and 140 TOF stores becoming ghosts of retail past. If you thought the high street was struggling before, this is the final nail in the coffin, and Keir Starmer has decided he isn't going to be buried in it. The fallout inside Downing Street is being described by insiders as pure, unadulterated carnage. Sources confirm that Starmer summoned Reeves for a meeting that was supposed to be a strategy session, but turned into a political execution. The Prime Minister, desperate to save his own sinking approval ratings, reportedly told Reeves that her Securonomics had become a national punchline and that for the sake of the party's survival, she had to go. But Rachel Reeves is not going quietly. Witnesses describe hearing shouts echoing through the corridors, with Reeves reportedly telling Starmer that he was sacrificing the only person who actually understood the math to save his own skin. It is the political divorce of the century, and the settlement is going to be incredibly messy for the British taxpayer.
Employment has risen to 5.1%. Commentators saying the labour market has continued to weaken. As Shadow Chancellor, your response, Mel?
Well, sadly, I'm not surprised. If you tax something, Nick, you tend to get less of it. And the first thing that the government did when they came into office was whack taxes on businesses and particular jobs in terms of national insurance increases. They talked down the economy. They've mishandled the run-up to this budget by flying all these various kites on different taxes that would go up, killed the animal spirits. And the final thing they've done is they've borrowed and spent vast amounts of money, stoked inflation, and that's meant interest rates higher for longer. And that has also weighed down on business and the jobs market. So I'm afraid, if you take those kind of choices, this is what you should expect.
Let you go after I ask for a word on growth. The last three figures, 0.2, 0.1, and the most recent, minus 0.1. So, Mel, we're going backwards.
We are going backwards. So if you take the 3 months up to end of October, Nick, the economy actually contracted by 0.1%. And that is a consequence of exactly the things that I've just run through in relation to the labour market. You've really got a chancellor that just doesn't understand the economics, particularly around business. And that's no surprise if you look at Labour's front bench, Nick, because you've got barely anybody on there that has any real life experience of business. We've just had the president of the CPI, Rupert Soames, as he steps down, making exactly that point. They just don't get it.
Transitions in power are usually handled with the grace of a swan. This one has the grace of a brick thrown through a window. The irony is thicker than a Treasury briefing. Modella Capital, which has become a significant force by snatching up brands like WH Smith's high street arm and Hobbycraft, essentially told the government, "We tried, but your taxes made it impossible." When a private equity firm, usually the villain in these stories, starts looking like the rational victim of government incompetence, you know the narrative has completely flipped. They've worked intensively, they've made last-ditch efforts, but the legacy effects and the climate of confidence or lack thereof have made trading profitably a fairy tale. Starmer's move to force Reeves out is a classic case of political triangulation gone wrong. He's trying to distance himself from the very policies he stood on a stage and applauded only months ago. It's like a pilot jumping out of the plane and telling the co-pilot it's their fault the engines are on fire. The Iron Chancellor has suddenly found herself treated like a disposable intern. This isn't just about two retail chains, it's about the 2,500 families who are looking at redundancy notices as their New Year's gift. The mission of growth Starmer keeps droning on about has hit a brick wall, and that wall is made of business rate hikes and national insurance increases that have made the high street a graveyard. The suspense in Westminster is reaching a fever pitch. If Reeves officially resigns or is pushed, who takes the poisoned chalice? Names like West Streeting are being whispered, but who would want to be the next person to explain why the British economy is currently performing like a dial-up modem in a fibre optic world? The highly adverse policies Modella mentioned aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They are the reason why your local town centre is starting to look like a set from a post-apocalyptic movie. When the Chancellor is being blamed by the very people trying to invest in the country, the game is well and truly up. And let's talk about that explosion. Reeves has spent her entire career being the sensible one, the economist who wouldn't be swayed by emotion. But being told you're the scapegoat for a collapse you warned was coming, if the black hole wasn't filled, that's enough to make anyone lose their cool. Insiders say she's prepared to release a scorched earth resignation letter that will detail exactly how much of the current mess was Starmer's personal direction. This isn't just a cabinet reshuffle, it's a civil war. While the media tries to keep up with the spinning, the reality on the ground is that the British retail sector is in a state of terminal decline under this administration's watch.
Right, just got through our latest polling data. Every month, City AM gets Freshwater Strategy polling company to survey British voters. Just got the headlines through of the most recent poll. 66% of voters believe Rachel Reeves should resign if she puts up income tax. Well, I wrote a column last week saying that she should. If she puts up income tax, she should resign. So it's nice to know that 66% of you agree with me on that, including 35% of Labour voters, which shows politics are a bit tricky. Keir Starmer's personal approval ratings are plumbing new depths, minus 45. That means 65% of people have an unfavourable view of him. Rachel Reeves doesn't fare much better. The majority of voters, 57%, would prefer spending cuts and tax cuts at the budget, and they're going to be disappointed. Most voters, 47%, will blame Labour if taxes go up. Just 26% will blame the last Tory government, which is interesting because Rachel Reeves has been trying very hard to say that this is all the Conservatives' fault. And then this is really interesting, just at the end I'm seeing, we asked people how they feel about the country. Britain today is a country of opportunity, yes or no? 40% say no, it isn't. But 37% say yes, it is. This is a country that rewards hard work. 52% disagree with that statement. Just 25% agree. Well, we'll find out, won't we, at the budget, just how much of people's hard work is going to be clawed by the Chancellor. She will raise taxes, it is going to be painful, and according to our polling, people are braced for it.
The tragedy here is the human cost. 1,355 staff at Claire's and 1,220 at TOFs. These aren't just statistics, these are people who are being told their jobs are unrealistic in the current climate. Modella Capital didn't mince words. If retailers can't make money, they risk having to close. It's a simple fact that seems to have eluded the inhabitants of Downing Street. You can't tax your way to prosperity, and you certainly can't build a national wealth fund while the people creating the wealth are handing in their keys to the liquidators. The pacing of this collapse is accelerating, with WH Smith's high street stores already being rebranded to TG Jones under Modella and Hobbycraft feeling the squeeze. The entire retail map of Britain is being rewritten by insolvency practitioners. Starmer's bold leadership seems to consist of finding someone else to blame every time a light goes out. First it was the Tory legacy, and now it's his own Chancellor. It's a strategy with a very short shelf life. When you fired the person who wrote the plan, what exactly is left of the government? So where do we go from here? The markets are watching, and they are not liking what they see. The pound is twitching like a nervous witness, and consumer confidence is currently somewhere in the basement. Starmer's attempt to reboot his premiership by sacrificing Reeves is a high-stakes gamble that could easily result in a vote of no confidence if the backbenchers decide they've had enough of the blame game. Rachel Reeves, meanwhile, is reportedly already talking to publishers. If you thought The Black Hole was a scary story, just wait until the Reeves diaries hit the shelves. What we are seeing is the end of the honeymoon, if there ever was one. The reality of governing has hit this Labour administration like a bucket of cold water. They promised stability, but they've delivered a retail massacre. They promised securonomics, but they've delivered a climate where established businesses are suffering badly. The tough decisions Modella Capital had to make are a direct result of the tough decisions Reeves made in her budget, and now the Prime Minister has made the toughest decision of all, to cut her loose before the stench of failure reaches his office. The British public is tired of the drama and hungry for a leader who understands that a country is more than just a collection of fiscal rules. We need a high street that breathes, an economy that grows, and a government that doesn't spend its time in a circular firing squad. As the dust settles on this explosive confrontation, one thing is certain, the era of Starmer and Reeves as a united front is over. Whether the government can survive the divorce remains to be seen. Thanks for watching The British Report.